This is Raythe from Raythe Reign. I'm an author of serialized gay romance fiction. Every week on this podcast, I'll be reading a chapter from one of my gay fantasy shifter serials called Dragon's Reign. I'll explain at the break how you can find out more about this story and others I write. So let's get to it. Chapter 122, Last Words. As Caden dodged at another lightning bolt, he thought, "Pick on someone your own size? Did I really say that?" He nearly had his head taken off by an acid ball. Was I insane to say that? A plume of fire so hot that he felt it singe his arm hair away from 3 feet, gushed just where he'd been. I am insane. Definitely insane. The one thing that was saving him was that the behemoth couldn't fly, so it was relatively limited in its movements. He could fly above its reach, well, at least the reach of its mouths, but the magic it spewed in all different colors, textures, and dangers was not so easy to escape. But Caden couldn't go too far away either, because Raziel still lay in an unconscious heap, and Iolaire was still very much attached to the behemoth. What is my game plan here? Caden asked himself. He needed Raziel to wake up. That was first and foremost. Did the black wings appear to be moving? Did the head lift a little from the ground? No. None of these things were happening. I've gotten Iolaire's attention, though Iolaire really doesn't look sure about what's going on around it. Iolaire's white head was looking this way and that, blinking almost sleepily as if waking from a dark dream. But those blue eyes were unfocused, and when it tried to move in a different direction from the one that the behemoth was going in, its head was the only thing to move. More confusion would fill those blue eyes, and the head would bob as if Iolaire was going to sleep again. But the behemoth's other heads, except for the drooping ruby one, were all quite alert and glaring at him. He had dreaded seeing one angry dragon, but now there were 7 giving him death stares. So, 8 dragon spirits to match with the dragons on Earth, but the ruby one is down, and Iolaire is out, so 6 remain plus the 7th, which is the behemoth. The behemoth's, Caden guessed, was the central head. It was a strange gray-green color with virulent yellow eyes that reminded him of a poisonous snake. There was a crown of thorns 3 layers deep that surrounded that massive head. The neck was thick and sinuous, larger than the others. It dwarfed Iolaire's delicate white head and neck. Caden imagined if the behemoth were just on its own, it would be classified as a titanic dragon, somewhere between Raziel and Memphis in size, but the sheer malice in its eyes separated it from those 2 dragons. If Raziel doesn't wake up, what's my next plan? Caden thought. But that thought was pushed to the side as deadly wind tornadoes mixed with fire, acid lightning, and more were coming at Caden in all directions. He had to swoop out of the crater then, going to the farthest-most edge to avoid them, but he was still buffeted hard. The moment he reached that farthest spot, any relief he had from avoiding the magic was dimmed. He felt his connection to Iolaire thin. The fact that there was a connection was something that would have sent him into loop-de-loops of delight under other circumstances, but the whole of the crater was a deadly obstacle course, so going back into it would be to risk certain death. If his spirit could die. Whether or not he could die for real, he wasn't sure. But he felt that if he died, Iolaire would be lost, and Raziel as well. All the dragons would fall. His connection to Iolaire, his live, living connection to the physical realm, was what was keeping Iolaire from being completely consumed by the behemoth. So he had to go back in and stay in. So what's the plan here? I need a plan. I just can't fly around forever. But that's what Caden did. He dodged, looped, rolled, dove, and soared, as the behemoth sent blast after stream of magic at him. Luckily, they both seemed to tire out at the same time. Caden panted in the air while the behemoth glared from the crater. Plan, 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 I need a plan. With this moment's respite, he'd hoped his mind would offer up something, but all he could think of was Raziel's crumpled form and Iolaire's dazed one. But there is a connection between Iolaire and I need to use that if only to reach my spirit. The behemoth was settled back in the center of the crater. It was glaring at him, of course. 7 pairs of eyes were quite the thing to have focused on one, especially when they were filled with hate, but he ignored them. Iolaire, can you hear me? Caden sent, even as he stared at the back of the white dragon's head. He started to drift to the side, thinking that maybe if he could make eye contact, it would be easier to reach his spirit. But every move he made was mirrored by the behemoth. It shifted as he shifted. Caden narrowed his eyes. He could fly over the behemoth's heads as fast as he could, and he might have a chance to see a flash of Iolaire's face, but it would hardly be worth it with the magical onslaught he could expect if he did this. Okay then, if I can't get in front of Iolaire, I need Iolaire to look at me, Caden thought. Iolaire, turn your head around. Look at me. It's Caden. Do you want to see me? Iolaire's head turned to the right, and Caden felt his heart rise up into his throat. If those blue eyes met his, he knew he could reach the white dragon spirit. But then a green globe shot towards him, and he was almost too slow to avoid it. The side of it skated along his left arm, and he let out a shrill yell as the acid left a red and bloody mark on his skin. Hissing with pain, Caden grabbed his uninjured wrist, trying to hold his arm steady to somehow ease the agony. His gaze met the behemoth's. It was smiling. All of its controlled heads, anyways. Iolaire was once again looking off into the distance in the exact opposite direction of him, as if there were answers to the universe over there. Caden snapped his head back towards the behemoth. Surprisingly, the monster hadn't sent more magic his way, as it had finally scored a hit. But it had settled down in the center of the crater in a sick suggestion of Iolaire's catloaf pose. He wanted to yell at it to stop pretending to be like Iolaire or like any dragon. It was foul and awful, and nobody liked it. But the pain simmered in his nerves and stole his voice for the moment. His skin blistered and wept. It was a slick red color like raw meat. I have no body. I have no arm. There is no acid here, he reminded himself over and over again. The wound, though, did not change. But there was a lessening in the pain he felt. Perhaps it was mind over matter, or soul over matter, or something. He lowered his arm and gritted his jaw. Maybe the reason he wasn't able to reach Iolaire was that the behemoth was blocking him. Distracting it by having it fire off its volleys of magic didn't give him access because he was too busy dodging death to concentrate on Iolaire, but maybe if he distracted it in some other way. Why are you doing this? Caden demanded of the behemoth. It was eerie to see all the heads blink at the same time. They were watching him curiously now. The glare had been reduced to a low-level hatred. Let's say you succeed in your goal of taking over the dragons and then the material realm, Caden said. Part of what makes that realm amazing are the humans. There was a snort of black smoke from one of the heads. What would be different between here and there if not for the humans? Caden gestured to the empty spirit world. Or at least it seemed empty. There was that werewolf, and of course there were the human souls that had been trapped here. But there was the sense that life was at a standstill. There was so little of it. The spirits want to be in the physical realm because of their interactions with humans. Humans' food, human cities, the excitement that humans bring, Caden kept going. As he spoke, his gaze flickered towards the white head that slowly seemed to be turning towards the sound of his voice. Iolaire, I'm here. See me. If you succeed in your plan, Behemoth, you will destroy the reason that spirits want to go there in the first place, Caden told it. You are foolish if you think we want your company, human, the Behemoth spoke. Caden jerked back. The voice was like the melding of many different voices. His mind felt electrified by the Behemoth's mental touch. That probably wasn't good. But I have its attention. Caden glanced at Iolaire. The white dragon spirit's head was almost completely to the side. Let's keep this going. But you have this whole world, mostly to yourself, or so it seems. Caden turned in a tight circle to encompass the whole of the spirit realm. Everybody is in their lairs, happily joined with their humans, enjoying their joint existences. Happily joined? You mean chained? The Behemoth roared at him. 7 pairs of eyes glowed at him with fury. No. You don't get to blame that on us, Caden said, even as he felt guilt at what he had discovered the spirits had to give up. But he had to respect their decisions, too. That is a choice they make. Because they think they will be free in the material realm with all those humans and their things that you go so on and on about, the Behemoth retorted. But they are not. They are shown who holds the control, who changed them. Whoa, wait a minute there, too. Caden shook his head and held up his hands as if physically warding off those words. First, spirits choose to bond with humans. They enter human bodies and exist in the material world that way. Humans don't get to choose this. But they do. They agree. Every single story I've heard about, including my own, when a spirit bonds with a human, it is in a time of distress. Seeing someone else attacked, watching your brother killed before your eyes, seeing your granddaughter poisoned, getting revenge in a village that rejected you, and stopping a bomb from going off and killing countless people. Caden added his own experience last. He hoped it would pluck at Iolaire. The white dragon spirit was listening. That's not a real choice. Nobody is thinking straight at that moment. I can tell you that the spirits don't say, "Oh, I'm going to bond with you, and you'll have to fight me for control of your own body from here on out." No, they say, "I'll give you the power to do this thing, or stop that thing, or whatever it is in that moment your heart and mind and soul desires." Iolaire, my heart and mind and soul desire you. Please join with me again. Fight the behemoth, Caden begged the white dragon spirit mentally. Iolaire's ears twitched, and its head turned a little bit more. The behemoth's eyes narrowed. "So you were blaming the spirits?" Caden blinked, but then refocused again on his own argument. "What I'm saying is that you're portraying the spirits as some kind of innocents who had no idea what they were getting into. It's bullshit." Caden shook his head. Maybe the first spirit didn't, but every spirit after that one did. This isn't news that they could bond with someone, a person they chose, by the way, and so have plenty of time to observe, who would not treat them as an equal partner. Iolaire, you've always treated me like a treasure. You chose me, even though I didn't and don't deserve you, Caden sent mentally. I'll do everything I can to treat you just as well. We're equals. My life is yours. More ear flutters. Caden didn't doubt that Iolaire already knew these things within its heart, as it knew his deepest thoughts, without him saying them. But he wanted to remind Iolaire what it was fighting for. You think, then, that humans have the right to abuse their spirits? The behemoth's mouths all cracked open, and various miasmas of magic boiled behind sharp teeth. No, of course not. And now that I know what the spirits must give up here, I'll be even more mindful than ever of Iolaire's needs and wants, Caden assured the behemoth, as if the monster's opinion mattered, as if it would change its mind, even if it did believe him. We're going to make sure that you and Raziel get plenty of flight time, mountain time, cuddle time, whatever you guys need, Caden promised. Raziel's right here too, Iolaire. Raziel's in trouble. I'm in trouble. I can't do this on my own. I hope you're enjoying Dragon's Reign so far. Many more adventures await our dragon shifter couple, but not until the next episode. If you're looking for another story full of hot heroes, romance, and magic set in an alternative world, check out the first book of my series, Cinders Ashes. Cinders Ashes is an elaborate gay retelling of Cinderella, but it's so much more than that. It's set in a world with forbidden magic, an heir made to work as a servant at his own estate, hidden heritage, enchanted wolves, and a king who wishes to marry for love. A link to book 1 is in the description below. Voice slightly cracking with emotion, Caden got out. None of us knew, until I got here, that the dragons stayed in their lairs once they bonded with us. They hid this from us so we wouldn't worry about them. Or perhaps you were too stupid to figure it out. Too blind. Too selfish, the behemoth scoffed. Maybe we should have asked. Should have thought of it, Caden admitted. There are going to be no secrets between us after this, Iolaire. Open books, both of us. A touch of honesty. How rare, the behemoth mocked. Then how about a touch more? You, of all people, should be grateful they did, though, because your little plan wouldn't have gotten so far if they had been minding these skies, Caden reminded it. Iolaire, you can break free. I know you can. You're the 9th dragon. You're the white dragon. You could take even Memphis out of the air, Caden cooed to his spirit. My little plan. The behemoth tilted all of its controlled heads to the side. Caden's gaze slid to Iolaire. The white dragon's head was fully turned to the side, but looking down now as if depressed. No, 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 Iolaire, we can stop the behemoth, you and me and Raziel. But I need you to break free, Caden cried. The head did not lift, though, and Caden felt nothing of their bond. Oh, no. Oh, please no, Iolaire. I can't do this without you. I can't live without you. Caden said the last without intending to, but he realized he meant it as soon as it was out of his mouth. I can't be without you, Iolaire. Please come back to me. Big plan, whatever. It's a bad plan for everyone involved, Behemoth. Caden refocused on the creature. On the contrary, only for the human whose bodies we take and whose spirits we displace, the Behemoth said. If you are right that we enjoy humanity so much, not that we do, what makes you think we will destroy it? Because that's what you do, Caden pointed out. The Behemoth shrugged one massive shoulder. In the past, that might have been my plan, but plans change. Now spirits can join with a body in the material realm and be free here. Indeed, they choose when they shift, they choose what they do, they choose everything. Caden felt a frisson of fear run through him. For some spirits, that would be the answer to everything. They wouldn't have to compromise. They could go to the human world, choose the human body they desired, and then live solely in both realms. If the Behemoth didn't make the material realm a desert, then they could have everything. Caden knew that there would be some spirits who would loathe this, who would hate what was happening to the humans. But if the dragons could not stop the Behemoth, then none of them could. Fear would win the day. Iolaire's head hung like a broken bloom on a stalk. Caden resisted the urge to let out a wail of grief and loss and rage. He clenched his hands into fists at his sides. You talk about freedom and choice with such passion. But look at you. Caden gestured to the other heads. He addressed only the main one. You enslave other spirits. The main head's yellow eyes narrowed. The Behemoth said nothing. You only have power by virtue of their power. It's not your own. It's stolen, Caden spat out. A fair fight between you and Raziel would be over before it began. But you're a thief. You're a slaver. You're worse than anything you claim to be fighting against. The Behemoth's yellow eyes were cold as ice chips. It shifted its bulk and hovered one clawed forelimb over Raziel's unconscious form. Caden stiffened. What are you going to do? Caden got out. The Behemoth did the equivalent of lifting an eyebrow as it said with magnificent malice. My nature is to hold all of the dragon spirits. It is what I am made to do, and they are to be mine alone. You're wrong. You're a jailer, a monster, Caden cursed. Iolaire wasn't even looking to the side any longer. Caden felt like something inside of him had died. Iolaire, Iolaire, Iolaire. Can you imagine how powerful I'll be when Iolaire and Raziel are mine? The Behemoth lowered that claw to Raziel's back and caressed the downed dragon. And after them, all the rest, nothing in the realms, material or spiritual, will come close to my power. I will be the human's god. No, never, that's not going to happen, Caden shouted. It will be better when I'm the one and only god. There won't be the unrest there is now, the Behemoth told him. Those foolish humans first people, or even the more foolish faith. I'll stamp out any rebellion, and people will learn to never complain, but to be grateful for my largesse. Valerian tried this. It doesn't work. There will always be people who fight against you, Caden cried. And then they will die. Horribly, even more horribly than you. The Behemoth laughed, and those yellow eyes narrowed with wickedness. The Behemoth's caressing forelimb on Raziel became a terrible, bloodletting grip. Raziel shuddered, but its eyes remained shut. No! Caden screamed. What could he do? What could he do to stop this? He had no powers. He could just dodge and fly, but nothing else. You don't want me to hurt the great Raziel, do you? The Behemoth chuckled. Well, then come here and earn your fate. That will keep Raziel apart for a little longer. Caden opened and closed his mouth. He stared at Iolaire. Nothing. No reaction at all. Iolaire. Come here, puny human, or I will rip off Raziel's wings and eat them in front of you. The behemoth roared and went on to grasp one of said wings. No, wait, I'm coming. I'll come to you, just don't, Caden begged. All of the controlled heads smiled. Caden slowly floated towards the behemoth. He felt numb. Was this going to lead to death? True death? Nothingness? Come closer, the behemoth crooned. Closer, closer. Stop stalling. Caden moved faster until he was within biting closeness of the behemoth. He could smell its odious breath. The ophidian smell of its scales almost had him gagging. He gazed down at Raziel. The magnificent black dragon spirit was so still. Look at me, human, Behemoth commanded. It was that Cindercat that had demanded this. He looked up into its yellow eyes, and his lips skinned back from his teeth. Even now you're defiant, the Behemoth chuckled. It is best to eliminate you here and now. You might actually inspire people. I cannot have that. People will fight you, Caden growled, even as his stomach curdled inside of him. Death. This was death. Death was there, inches from him. Caden expected the behemoth to send some magical projectile at him. Acid, plasma, electricity, gas. He felt his injured arm ache. But no. The behemoth's individual power must have been what it said it was, which was to control the other dragons. On its own, it had nothing else, except a mouthful of very sharp teeth. I'll tell them how you died, how you sacrificed yourself. That will make my victory sweeter. As they mourn your loss, the behemoth murmured. Then that big head moved towards him, jaws cracking open, teeth as long and sharp as swords, breath foul and hot. Caden closed his eyes at the last moment. He couldn't bear to watch anymore. When the behemoth's mouth closed over him and crushed him and cut him to pieces, he would know, for a moment at least, that it was over. But then there was a roar. Not out of one throat, but many, and Caden felt something icy cold brush past him. His eyelids flew open. The behemoth's center head was covered in ice. The other dragon heads were snapping and screaming in rage and pain. Ice coated them as well, freezing them in place for a moment, except for one head. Caden stared into the blue eyes of a very awake, very aware Iolaire. I hope you're enjoying Dragon's Reign so far. Dragon's Reign is free for you to enjoy, but not free for us to make. There is a whole team working with me for audio editing, artwork, graphic design, and custom music. Most YouTube channels and podcasts have sponsors and take ads, but because of the kind of content we make, we can't run ads or get sponsors. Instead, we have other ways you can support me and the team behind this gay romance audiobook. One easy way is to buy or borrow my books from Amazon. They are all gay romance set in alternative worlds with vampires or shifters and other magical beings. You may not know that even if you borrow books with your Kindle Unlimited subscription at Amazon, they are free for you, but they still earn us money. The books are published under the name Ex Aratare, which actually means Raythe in Romanian. And if you love audiobooks, you can get professionally narrated versions of every one of my books on audible.com. The link to my author page is in the description below, as well as to the first book of the series I think you'll really like. Thank you so much for your support. People like you enable me and the team to keep writing these stories of gay romance, magic, monsters, and true love, and producing this very fun podcast for everyone. Thank you.